everybody, it's Lee from yardfarmer.co. Today we're going to be talking with Daryl about Tree of Heaven, one of the more noxious volunteers you can get in your yard or landscape design. And we're going to talk about ways that you can get rid of it. It's not as hard as it seems, but it's something you really want to take care of now before it gets out of control. Here's Daryl. This is a question that I earmarked way back in May because you had said the time to actually try to eradicate a tree of heaven or Siberian or Chinese elm is right before they go dormant or right as they're going dormant. So I just wanted to follow up on that. Is this the time of year? Here we are, late September, getting into October. Is this it? Is this the time?
Now, it's actually literally now, to the point where I'm stressing myself out because I have some volunteers that have come up from my neighbor's tree that I've been glaring at and resenting all summer long. And now I'm like, oh, if I don't get out and do it this weekend, I might miss my window. Really, like as soon as possible is the time to treat your tree of heaven if you have a tree of heaven infestation. I know this might be really chaotically, but I'm going to hold my phone up to the screen to show a picture that I took today. This is what I walked past today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's what will happen.
Those are just babies.
That's the mom.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I walked by this and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is what will happen if you're just like, oh, that tree of heaven's got to go. Let me cut it down. When you do that, it rises up like Hydra in a Greek myth and it sprouts 14 more heads. That's why it's really hard for me to look someone in the eyes, even as an ecological designer, even as a sustainable designer, and say you can never use herbicide ever. Yep. But we are never using herbicide in a way that is truly damaging to an ecosystem. So with Tree of Heaven, we are putting a highly concentrated form of herbicide directly on each individual plant, which in this case would take all damn day. But you know what? That's what you would have to do because spraying, in my ethical mind, is just not an option.
Especially in the Salt Lake Valley where we have lots of wind. This video is an excerpt from a 1-hour live Q&A session that we did recently with Daryl. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more updates on when our next live session is, or you can sign up for our free mailing list at yardfarmer.co. So one of the best and most effective techniques that I've seen, the cut stump method. Did you want to talk about that real briefly?
Yeah, there are several methods for removing Tree of Heaven. My favorite way is actually a mix of several methods. So the cut stump method comes a little bit later. Right now, we have to use my favorite method, which has my least favorite name. It's called the hack and squirt method, which I just hate. I hate that.
That is terrible.
So much. I do not like it. But essentially, it is what it sounds like, where you have a high concentration of herbicide. We're talking about a 1-to-1 concentration of glyphosate. So 50%. It's a high concentration. And you are literally hacking at the tree. So you get home from work, you have all of this aggression because your boss is an asshole or whatever. And you're mad, right? I know I'm your boss. So when you get home, because I gave you so many video edits that day and you're really mad at me, then I want you to take your aggression, take it out on the Tree of Heaven, okay? I want hacks. I want wounds on the Tree of Heaven. Then we take that 1-to-1 concentration. You could literally just paint it on with a paintbrush. I think they just recommend using just directly on the bark. We're not trying to spray it everywhere, just directly on the wounds. The reason we need to do it right now in September is that very soon it's going to put on fall color and it's going to start signaling to the tree that it needs to take all of the energy from above ground and put it below ground. So it's going to take the poison that you have just put on the tree and then pump it down into the root system, which is going to prevent the Jurassic Park murder forest that I showed you on my phone. Cut stump method is actually when you are just straight up chopping the tree down and then poisoning the stump. And that is what we're going to do next spring once we let this tree fight for its life for 6 months.
Okay, I might be wrong on this, but there's a lot of sugar and plant glucose stored in the leaves. And when the leaves change color, that's because the plant is siphoning all that energy, like you said, down into the root system so that it can hibernate. So we just gave it an extra dose of okay.
And it just takes it and puts it down. Now, I should add another caveat that the hack and squirt method, we can workshop the name with them. Let's call up the botanists at Penn State and talk about it. But that method is best used if your Tree of Heaven is already 1 inch in diameter, like probably at least 1 year old. Tree of Heaven. If you're dealing with all the little babies with pencil diameter or so on, stumps or trunks, you would want to do something called a Basil bark application. And that's essentially where you're just painting the herbicide directly onto the bark because it's young enough that it can just absorb it almost like skin. just straight into the root system, but you would still do it at the same time of year. You heard me mention Penn State already. Penn State is the university ag extension that has a very detailed markup on how to manage Tree of Heaven. So I'd recommend, if you have Trees of Heaven, which you probably do, because I have like 7 right now that I need to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, just type in Penn State Tree of Heaven, pull that up, and that'll get you sorted.
It's amazing with those and the Siberian elms in particular. It's like they find the most inconvenient corner of your yard that you can't get to, and then they put in a 20-foot tree.
That's why, actually, because these are seeds that are traveling on the wind. And so the reason we always see them against fences and against home foundations is because that's finally where it stopped blowing and it found some purchase and rooted in. They love to destroy fences. That's like their favorite thing.
Fences, and if they get big enough, they can buckle your foundation. So this is something you definitely want to take care of. I have a friend who paid the price. He thought his Siberian elm was actually really pretty, and it volunteered itself, and he let his whole back fence grow Siberian elm, and then it ripped his fence down.
Yep. It'll take the whole thing down with it if it can. Yeah.
If you found this information helpful, please consider giving this video a like, and make sure to subscribe to yardfarmer.co for more information, tips, and tricks to help you with your landscaping projects. If you'd like more information on Yard Farmer and the services we provide, make sure to visit us at yardfarmer.co. Thanks so much for watching.